So on the previous video, we talked about two functions which were slope and intercept. Now let's look at this function in this particular video, which is FORECAST.LINEAR. So the FORECAST.LINEAR, what does this function do? This function will forecast the value of y for a specific value of x. So for example, if I ask you a question, what are the expected marks if the student studies for 20 hours? We have seen here that if a student studies for 20 hours, this particular sample got 40 marks. But these are random points. Now looking at this line, if I look at this line for 20 hours, the value expected is something around 35% marks. So this person is expected to get 35% marks. Based on this line, how many marks a student will obtain if the student studies for 20 hours? So for that, we can use this function which is FORECAST.LINEAR. So let's do that. So is equal to forecast, and if you see that there are number of forecast function, I am looking at FORECAST.LINEAR, and now I am looking at the x value, the value for which I need to find out the forecast value. So that's 20 hours. The value of x is 20 hours. And now I can put the known y's. So these are my y's, comma, and these are my x's. So what you will notice here is that you even don't need to find out the equation. This particular function will find out the equation, will put the value of x is equal to 20 in that equation and give you the estimated value of y. So all these functions are done in this FORECAST.LINEAR. So with this, if I press OK, this gives me 35.31. That's the percent of marks which student will obtain if student studies for 20 hours. What will happen if this student studies for, let's say, 2000 hours? I am saying 2000, and you see that you don't see 2000 hours studied here in this data. But let's hypothetically put that value here. If this student studies for 2000 hours, how many marks this person will obtain? So for that, let's say if I put FORECAST.LINEAR and my x value is 2000, my known y's are this, comma, and my known x's are this, bracket close and enter. So this student will obtain 1967% marks. More than 100% marks, like not more than 100%, 20 times more than 100% marks. That's impractical. So one lesson which we learn here is that when you are forecasting based on the data available, make sure that your forecast is within that reasonable range in which you have collected the data. You really cannot extrapolate, you really cannot extend your point of interest too far from the points which you have. So the data which you have here is, let's say, which is starting from 20 hours minimum and 65 hours maximum. So when you are forecasting something, make sure that you are forecasting in this particular range only in which you have your data. So this is absolutely nonsense to have 1967%. So let's delete that. But the point here was that make sure when you estimate, when you forecast within the reasonable range in which you have the data. So with this, we complete this function which is FORECAST.LINEAR. Let's move on to the next video and learn about few more regression related functions in Excel.